Mr. Bean,
Present.
Mrs. Gordon, Mrs. McCray, Dr. Leatherwood, Mr. Johnson,
Here.
Mrs. Hutchinson, Mrs. Ware.
We have a quorum. The next item on the agenda is communications, announcements, and schedules.
Thank you, Mr. President. This Friday night, which is January 19th, the commission now has celebrated its 15th year. We're a group of superintendents, all of whom represent districts that have predominantly African-American populations. And we came together for the purpose of sharing information, for the purpose of staff development. I think some of you have been to some of our initiatives and conferences have given, but our primary purpose really has been to generate funds for our students. We have an event, and all of you have been at one of the events that's generally held in the spring. And we give scholarships to graduating seniors as recommended by the member districts. Up until last year, probably we would give a maximum of 40 scholarships. Last year, we were approached by the United Negro College Fund, and I think that you know, because most of you have known me for years and years and years, that I've been involved with them. I would want to say 30 years with the United Negro College Fund easily. And I've been the South Suburban chairperson for the United Negro College Fund initiative, which was almost non-existent. But last year, Dr. Thomas, who is the president of the commission, and I sat down with the United Negro College Fund, and we agreed that we would host a gala, that's what we were calling it, and we would raise as much money as we could for scholarships. I'm not sure that we had an idea that there would be the great response that there was, but it was a huge event on March 1st of last year. And we did raise $201,000. We gave 90 scholarships to graduating seniors at an event that we had in the spring. It was probably one of the most fulfilling things that we've ever done. If you see the expressions on the faces of the students as they walk across the stage, it's just absolutely wonderful. And so what we did not realize is, due to COVID and due to other issues, that this was the largest event that had ever been had in the South Suburban area to raise money for scholarships. And so this year, of course, when the United Negro College Fund said about this, then we were just very, very anxious to continue to do that and to give more scholarships to our children. And so right now, as I sit here, we're a little over $180,000. We're looking at 900 people. We know that we will continue to push forward. But I think what is most rewarding are the vendors that have come out to help us. Several months ago, this board passed a motion to allow us to adopt Safeway Bus Company as our transportation company. And I really never look back. It has been a wonderful experience in the sense of delivering the children on time, safety, buses that are clean and functional. And so it is a relationship that has, to me, synergism. But Mr. Bruce Barr, the gentleman that you met, came by and said to me 2 weeks ago, Dr. Davis, you're raising money for scholarships through this thing called UNCF. And I said, yes. And we've never had this before. He just gave me an envelope. I looked in the envelope. There was a check for $25,000. Truly wonderful, truly wonderful. And so Yes, we will lift him up with publicity, but he hits 2 tables at the event. The rest of the money falls to the bottom line for scholarships. And so we didn't have a category for anyone giving us $25,000. The most that we have ever had was the gold, the silver, the platinum level. The platinum level was $10,000. And I would try to explain to him, I said, well, and he said, yes, 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 you're doing good things for, and he was gone. So there's nothing that he has asked from us, and he will be there, but the majority of this, because we pay about $45 for the chicken dinner, whatever we're having, the rest of it will go to scholarships. So that's where we are now at 180,000. I anticipate that money will continue to come in, but we do have more people attending this time because people have just been stopping by, leaving checks for $100, saying, I really want to contribute to the future of young people. So just about everyone, not only the people sitting here, but the people who are not sitting here because they're at home, will be at the Tinley Park Convention Center. United Negro College Fund is sending a vice president from Atlanta, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. We're having it on a Friday evening, but it's signaling the opening of Black History Month. And so I just feel very, very positive about that. But the next thing on our agenda is January 31st. And I don't know how you feel about the spelling bee, but it's one of my favorite competitions. And so on the 31st, we will have District 162 spelling bee, but we've also been asked to host the regional, as we have done for I don't know how many years. I will say this, and I say this with confidence, we do an excellent job of not only giving our children support, but when we get to the regional and the sectional, we do an excellent job of making sure that all of the young people coming from whatever schools feel welcome here, but it's also very structured, and our children do very well. And then on February 6th, a little earlier this year, but that's okay. That Dr. Johnny Thomas, who is the superintendent of 227, has always wanted us to do a joint event. I believe this is probably our 4th year. We will be at Governor State, and you will receive information about that. But generally, it would be the 2 high schools. That's not what it is. It is 163, 162, 159, 160 if they choose to participate, and governors, and I'm sorry, 227. So we will be participating in that. Each district sends 1 school. So our school, Dr. Mays has volunteered, and you know that Dr. Mays Energy, and she is the school that will represent us this year. It's always a magnificent event. And then our board meets again on February 20th at 6:30. So I don't know if there are any questions about the event. I did invite all of you. Some of you are coming, some of you are not, but I know that you'll be with us in spirit as we just simply raise money for our young people. And I think the interesting thing about this, the majority of the schools are actually elementary schools, but they all contribute simply for the purpose of seeing the high school students walk across the stage and get their scholarships. So that's what we're doing this Friday night from 6 and to approximately midnight. That concludes the announcements, Mr. President.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the superintendent? The next item on the agenda is entitled Audience to Visitors, pertaining to agenda items only. If there's any member of the audience who care to address the board on any item on the agenda, this is the opportunity to do so. Hearing none, The next item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. President,
Madam Secretary,
move to approve the consent agenda dated January 16th, 2024, and every item contained therein.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
No, Mr. President, our consent agenda is significantly smaller due to the fact that we were closed for 2 weeks for the Christmas holidays.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ware? Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Dr. Leatherwood?
Aye.
Mrs. Gordon?
Aye.
Mr. Bean?
Aye. The consent agenda is passed. Let's see. New business. Motion. Oh, I'm sorry, superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a few things. As you know, because of the scheduling of Christmas holidays and New Year's, we did not open until the 8th. And so here we are on the 16th. It's been a difficult reopening primarily because of the weather. And I think that you're well aware of that. The last 2 years, we did not have a real winter. We can safely say we have a real winter this year. And so we've been having consistent meetings with the superintendents on Zoom as we decide what it is that we were going to do. And we met last Thursday, and what we intended to do, because we were listening to the news and the timing of this, we thought that we would be able to be open on Friday simply because there was predicted rain coming in, and after that, snow. And we thought we would be able to dismiss prior to that. It was incorrect. When the bus company called me at 4:30 on Friday morning, it was snowing, and it continued to do that. So it was much too dangerous for us to open. And so we did close. And when I say we, the group that was closing it was a group that doesn't usually bond together, but Homewood Flossmoor, Bloom, 227, 163, and us had decided, 205, which is Thornton Thornwood, that we would remain open, and we were forced to close. But because we didn't call an e-learning day in advance, this is the day that we'll be making up. And I will give you more information about that, but that was the reason for the late call. Normally, we'd like to inform our parents the day before, but we felt confident that we were going to be facing only rain coming in and light snow going out. Nothing could have been further from the truth. When we went home at the end of the day, because our process is, even if the schools are closed, all of the principals and the senior administrators are in. So we were all here. It was raining when we left, but we would not have been able to, as our bus company informed us, been able to navigate that snow, and the children would have been standing out. And so we did make a decision to close. But we've been communicating with our bus company, Safeway, and we knew that if we had opened today, there were going to be 85 buses that did not open the day before because of the fact that the buses sit out in the cold. And so a different group met, and this time we're talking about all the rich schools, and we agreed that we would do an e-learning day, which we did today. Looking back, I had not realized that the last time we did an e-learning day was actually February 17th, 2022, because we had no reason last year to do an e-learning day. So we did do an e-learning day, and prior to that, our technology department sent information to the teachers to kind of give them a kind of a refresher because it's been a while. You're well aware that during COVID, we instructed in a non-traditional way through technology for almost a year and a half, but it's been some time. The other thing I bring to your attention, if you're looking at both of our districts, we have 42 people that were new to us, so we weren't too sure what was going to happen today. We did invite any teachers that felt insecure to come into the building. A few did, but Mr. Lights and Mr. Evans tell me that there were, I don't know, what would you say, 100 email messages as the teachers sought guidance. We'll just say guidance. However, the delightful thing for me were the number of parents and students that communicated with us. And, because we own the equipment, we have the ability to remote in and to solve some problems. We love our grandparents. We love our grandparents. And when parents go to work, it's the grandparents primarily that we're talking to. And so we were able to get everyone up and running by 9:15 this morning. I think that congratulations go to Mr. Lights and Mr. Evans, but also to Emily and all the rest of the techs who were in this building. And then there were a few teachers. What I enjoyed also is that actually you could visit all of the 8 schools in 5 minutes, because each of the rooms here with their clerks was one of our buildings as we came together. So that was a good day. However, there is a robocall that went out to our 8 schools today, thanking our parents, first of all, but telling them that we don't consider tomorrow to be a heat wave, but it is going to improve by 15 to 17 degrees. And so therefore, we're going to be open tomorrow. Opening with us will be 227. Actually, they feel that the high school students would have been fine anyway, but they're opening with us. 163, as Mrs. Gordon knows, 159, and of course, we're opening both of our schools. I'm assuming that other schools will be doing the same thing, but there is a small group of students that, of schools, I'm sorry, that would like to stay down until the weather stabilizes in the 30s. I don't know when that would be. I have no idea. I don't know when that, a real winter in Chicago, we don't stabilize at 30 degrees. And as much as we congratulate our teachers and we think we did a fine job on e-learning, we know that the best process that we can use to instruct our children really is in-person learning. And so that's what we'll be doing. But Safeway Bus Company, Safeway, I waited. We did not release our robocall until they notified me that not only did they have sufficient buses for us, but they had 25 buses in abeyance waiting, and that we would also put 7 buses on the street that would be simply picking up any children that were late coming to the bus stop. So that's the plan for tomorrow, and we move on. But we are grateful, first of all, to our teachers, secondly, to our parents. But we did talk to so many more grandparents than we would normally have the opportunity to interact with. And so it was an extremely good day. Today, we're going to continue. We have 3 items that we're bringing to you. And of course, we do have Craig England, who is our CFO here, but I did want to point out something to you. At last meeting, you approved us purchasing 13 air conditioners. So the last 2 items that you have here, we purchased those, they've been ordered, which is a process in itself. But then the next step is what we do in terms of installing them. And I'll give you an example. This building, we will have to close down for almost 2 weeks during the summer because the weight of the air conditioners, the lightest one turns out to be 41,000 pounds that's going to go on top of this. So you can't possibly have any one in the building. The advantage that we have is that we have two buildings, one called the Performing Arts Center, one called the Field House, that are not connected to this building, that actually we will not be doing anything to them. So if we had to access parts of the building, but really what we're going to do is restructure our summer school. But as you look at these, and Mr. England will probably discuss this with you, since we're going to be up on the roof, we're going to also repair any damage that we see to any of our roofs. And since we're going to be up on the roofs, we're going to do tuck pointing. So yes, we're going to make sure that all of our gyms have air conditioning, but we continue with the Huth, and there's a lot that we need to do with the Huth, but we're taking this opportunity also to look at the condition of our roofs and to do a lot of other work. So when you look at this, and we will certainly answer any questions, it's not just the installation of the air conditioners, which is our primary goal. A secondary goal would be that we repair anything that we see that needs to be repaired in that process. And so that's what that is. So that concludes my report, except for enrollment. We did pick up 15 more students. Parents have not yet sent them to school. Tomorrow, that was last week, but remember, this was Monday through Thursday, then we went into the inclement weather. So tomorrow we will be calling those parents and said, it's time to come to school. They moved into the district, and they have leases that started January 1st, but there are 15 of them, and we will probably see whether or not there are other students that are out there. But our enrollment remains 2,396, because we're not counting the students that we took in until they actually report to school. But there were 15 children that reported last week. Are there any questions that I can answer about anything? I'm more
Mr.
than
President.
happy.
Couple questions for the superintendent. Thank you, Dr. Davis. Thank you for some of the data that you provided on e-learning. I wonder if you or Mr. Lights could share any other data that we have on the e-learning experience. Like, do we have numbers on participation? Like, do we know how many of the young people that we got engaged, online? Just some information around that. People maybe who didn't boot it up, couldn't get it online. Are we able to track that kind of way, the same way we're able to do attendance?
I don't have exact numbers, but we're taping. And so one of the reasons the principals were here is because they were joining classes. And so I can tell you that every teacher came up, and we were happy about that. But I can bring to you at the next meeting, or send to you, I'll just simply send it to you, the exact numbers, because we do take attendance. Remember, those students are counted present as long as they sign in. But probably the classes that I enjoyed the most were the kindergarten classes. Those are some of the most creative teachers, and the little songs that they were singing. And I look at this and I think how far we've come, that teachers are able to communicate children within their own environment, but also stimulate activity. And I think it's absolutely wonderful. But I will give you those numbers because they exist. But every teacher that we employ was online with their students, but I'll give you specific attendance information.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I do think it's fantastic that we're doing K through 8. The young people, I just like the fact that they're engaging with the technology for educational purposes. So even as time goes by, we know they're using the technology for entertainment purposes, but for them to not lose sight of the fact that it's a portal for knowledge and learning and capability, and they can apply those exact same skills to help them get online and get to class on time. And even as I see that those skill sets continue on straight to college, My personal experience with my own children is like, wow, college is not like it was before. And the back and forth between live and in person and technology accessed education is just standard, sign of the times. And we've got our, first, second, and third graders doing it. That's fantastic. So thanks for that data. It kind of leads to a question maybe you could just comment on that I wondered before. I like that we're doing this. I'm glad that we voted for the e-learning. I'm looking forward to, as a Midwesterner my whole life, I'm looking forward to the end of snow days. I know what the kids don't like that, but the idea of the kids do like the snow day that happens in June. They don't like that. They don't like the extended school year. I know they don't like that. And so the idea that we can replace that with e-learning, they can continue to learn, and then the school year still ends at the exact same time. I know the kids like that. Our parents' vacations like that. My question was, what kinds of things do we do for preparedness of the students and parents for e-learning? So as we, I know that's maybe should have already happened, but what do we do so that they were always ready to switch to the e-learning circumstance?
Well, the teachers were aware that inclement weather was coming. And so they were instructed to take their laptops home. But we did a huge program this summer, not knowing whether we were going to need to use this information. But I just think of Go Guardian, which is something that they wanted. Most of our staff development is based upon the use of technology, but this summer in particular, not because of any particular need, but because technology is changing so quickly.
Sure.
That's what we spent more time, but we've been preparing all through the month of December for the possible use of e-learning. Now, if I can say this, it's a little different in a high school. Students, I don't want to say they know as much as, but their lives are, they're so immersed in technology. But we spend a lot of time with the elementary teachers. But something that is, I think, is very important. If you looked at a class today, you almost always saw half, if not 2/3, of the people who were visible were parents. They're right there. And what I like and what parents comment on is how much they learn themselves as a result of participating in the class. Now, every once in a while, we over-participate, but we over-participate. The questions actually are for the children, but we over-participate. But today, I think because this was something we hadn't done in some time, that first of all, when we did a survey, Mr. Johnson, several years ago, we know on any one day, a minimum of 67, and it may even be higher now, 67% of our parents have at least one in their home that are college educated. So it didn't surprise us that they were going to engage with us. But today, teachers commented to me in terms of emails on the fact that they had forgotten this experience. And not only were they talking to the children, some of the smaller children were sitting on the laps of their parents as they, it's an entirely different feeling.
Right.
And I think it brings out the creativity of the students. But if you ask me what I like most about this, and I'm talking to the total board really, is that at one time, I think teachers had doubts that this was possible.
Correct.
They had doubts, and they really, one of our schools that has always done a superior job with in-person education was the most resistant to this change. But with COVID, I think it forced us all to look at life differently and look at education differently. And I'm not saying that we don't have learning loss as a result of being on COVID for a long period of time. However, it forced all of us to be creative. But I enjoyed this today because I saw so many parents, and it was many times the parents that greeted the teacher, not the students. But the smaller ones sitting on their parents' laps as the parents helped us to help the children. I think that that's the most important thing. But in terms of staff development, we put a lot of time and energy into that. In particular, Mr. Evans, in our retreats, in our staff development, when we do a joint staff development with Southland and the individual teachers. But be quite honest, they not only buy into it, they embrace it. And so today, I was telling the truth when I told the parents that this was an exceptionally good day in terms of what we accomplished, but we accomplished it also by doing something that we knew that was necessary, and that's keeping the small children safe. It really was not a good day. And remember that the Safeway told the truth. Isn't that such a wonderful thing that a bus company would say, if we open, we've got 80 some buses, so we're not waiting. But now we know that not only are we going to, and Mrs. Gordon knows about 163, not only are we prepared to 162, 227, and our own district, there's a plan in place for any students that are late that can go back and they can be picked up in the morning. So I feel very comfortable about us going back to school. But technology, it is, but what we're looking at now is we have not decided where does this artificial intelligence fit in with, that's a whole nother thing. And if you ask me today, my thoughts on it, I would have to say, I'm still thinking this through because it's a part of our future. But where does it fit in to the education of our children? I say that because the English teachers are disturbed because you must, if you're going to be successful in college, know how to write an independent research paper. That doesn't mean that this is created in any way other than you thinking this through and then responding. And so that's why we have at the senior and junior level software that is screening to make sure that this is an original. So artificial intelligence, I'm really not prepared to make a comment as to how it would fit in, but I do know that as we're sitting here now, someone is coming up with something new that will become a part of how we educate children. The world is changing rapidly and we have to change with it. So
Very good, thank you.
that's where we are with it.
Just one
But I
final question
will,
about-
submit the numbers.
Just one final question about the lift this summer for our air conditioning units. And you mentioned that during the lift process of putting removing the old unit and putting on the new unit are critical safety time, so there'll be nobody in the building. That makes sense, and I like that. And probably nobody in vicinity of where the crane is going to be and the lifting in the parking lot and so forth. But perhaps there could be access to the Performing Arts Center and the gym, the field house. Just wondering also, does it also include potential access to the annex? Would that be outside of the lift zone, so therefore we can
No,
utilize
the
that as
annex
well?
would be fine. However, today we had in our 8 schools, the state auditors who look at our safety. Do we have things hanging from the ceiling? Are there, what are we doing in terms of the electrical sockets and all of that? And so this process will probably necessitate us moving summer school from one school to the other because we're going to need a certain period of time for students to be in we have a very large summer school, but that has to be done in a way. And those schools, that's one solid building, which means what is possible here would not necessarily be possible in the other schools. And so I see summer school as spending 2 weeks here, another 2 weeks here, as we try to go through the district and meet our time frame, which would be the opening of school approximately August 22nd. So it's going to be a different summer for us as we do that. But one of the other things that was brought to my attention by Mr. Walzak is the condition of our parking lots. You know, we, with the exception of this lot, we recovered them. Probably there's going to be damage to them simply because of the weight of the trucks. So that might be something that we're looking at. But the way that I look at it, if we're comfortable and we have air conditioning in our gyms and in the Huth, we're doing a lot of different work, then that kind of compensates for the fact that we may not have time at the end of the summer to redo our parking lots. That may have to wait for another time. But we are anticipating that there would be some damage. But on the education side, isn't there something intriguing about a summer school that goes from building to building? And perhaps there's something different that we think about that's taught in a particular building, and then you go to another building and you experience this just because. And I like that idea. We haven't done that before, so, but that is going to be a part of the summer, because otherwise we would not be able to do this in the time frame that we have.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the
Mr.
superintendent?
President, with us having to cancel school so late on Friday, was there
I'm
something?
sorry.
With us having to cancel school, I know the notification didn't come out till about 7 a.m. Was there something in place in case kids did show up at the building because of the weather?
All the principals were in the building and they stayed there until 9:30 to make sure that there were no children. And there were children dropped off, not by buses. The buses never picked anyone up, but dropped off by parents.
That was my
And they
concern.
report always, even today, even though we got this out yesterday, we knew, parents knew, suppose you didn't pick up your phone, suppose you didn't get the message. They went first to their schools, waited, and then they came into the district office. That's why we had e-learning to start at 9 o'clock, so that all of our buildings would be covered and we would know that there were no children that were there.
Okay, thank you.
But there were parents that did drop off students, and we had to call them back.
Mr. President,
Yes.
as it concerns the work on,
Sorry.
as it concerns the work on the roof,
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering, because I looked at the numbers on the outside of this building, the 4601, and they're up against like what used to be numbers there, I guess. And like there's almost like it can appear as a shadow effect, but there's whatever is up there that's behind those new numbers that's up there. It kind of stands out. So given that, you know, there is work happening on the roof, and there's additional work happening, you know, across the top, I just wonder if somebody could just take a look at that and see if there's any way to kind of remove whatever that stuff is behind the new numbers that are up there. I assume that they're new numbers, but it just stuck out to me. I know I'm a stickler for these kind of things, but
Something I haven't discussed with the board, with one exception, the two signs that are out there now, we're waiting for the opportunity. There will be electrical signs that are there, and that's a part of something we're going to do this summer. Obviously, we will not be doing it in the winter, but numbers that people can read